Hello everyone, my name is Jade. I've been making edits on After Effects for over 5 years, and I can definitely say that one of the hardest parts of making transition edits is coming up with good ideas. So today, I'm going to be sharing with you some tips for coming up with ideas. Also, a quick disclaimer, I am not at all trying to say that I'm like the most creative editor or anything, because, well, I'm definitely not. However, I have gotten quite a few comments, particularly on my 3D transition edits, asking about coming up with ideas. So I thought I would just share some of the things that I find helpful, and hopefully you can also find them helpful. Okay, first, I feel like this should be obvious, but try to pick songs for your edits that you actually like. Personally, I feel like whenever I use songs that I don't like, just because they're trending or for whatever reason, I lose motivation super quickly. Especially because when you're making an edit, you're gonna be replaying that song so many times. And I feel like whenever I'm editing with a song I don't like that much, or honestly, not even just a song I don't like, if it's a theme I don't like, colors I don't like, or just like an overall concept that doesn't make me excited about the edit, editing definitely gets really boring and demotivating, which obviously makes it super difficult to actually come up with good ideas. Now, I would definitely also recommend picking songs that have good lyrics, because I feel like a lot of times ideas can come from words of a song, and I will definitely elaborate more on that later in the video too. I also want to say though that making an edit creative is so much more than just the transitions. It's also all in the way you do your backgrounds, what effects you use, overlays, and overall edit theming too, which is why my next tip is to decide on a theme for your edit. Your edit can be based on season, holiday, certain game, software, whatever song you're using, just a color palette too. I feel like having a theme for your edit helps a lot with making all the transitions and details in your edit much more cohesive so that everything goes together nicely. I want to show some examples of themes I've used for my edits too, and how the theme helped me with coming up with more transition ideas. Alright, this is my Counting Stars edit, and I decided to go with a space theme for this edit because on the name, well, Counting Stars. And for the colors, I used a few different shades of blue and yellow as like an accent color. So basically, when you have a theme chosen for your edit, you gotta think of different things associated with that theme. So since this edit has a space theme, some of the things that I associated with that are stars, spaceships, and planets. I really like this intro here because I was able to incorporate all three of those things. You have the rocket ship here, also the different stars on like the planet rings, and of course the big planet in the middle that sort of explodes and then like it reveals like a 3D cube here. This part too, I did kind of like a planet transition here where the circle picture is in the middle and then the rings are around it. You can also incorporate your theme in your edit in very subtle ways too. Like right here, I used a star burst overlay, and the star overlays here with these cubes. And then of course the outro, where I replaced the A in stars with an actual star. I really like how I did that as well. Okay, my next edit I want to talk about is my unlock edit, which I actually think this is one of my most creative edits. So this edit has like a digital Microsoft sort of theme, and it's kind of funny because the song doesn't actually really correlate with this theme at all. I'm actually pretty sure this was gonna be a pink edit originally. I remember though, I was just staring at the edit and I was trying to come up with ideas for the first few transitions, and I was just messing with my mouse, and then I saw it do the click and drag thing, and I was like, oh my gosh, and it just completely sparked an idea, and I ended up making the whole edit into a digital theme, and I'm really happy with it. So yeah, sometimes just little things like that as well can spark ideas. Also, I mentioned earlier too how the lyrics of the song you're using for your edit can also help with coming up with ideas as well. So obviously, this edit, the song goes, "Got the key, can you unlock it?" So I had the crazy idea to have a 3D key unlocking a 3D lock, which is exactly what I did. Also, for the part right after that where it says, "I can see it in your eyes," see here, I had it rotate into like the pupil of the eye. Also, this is one of my more recent edits. The song says "call me," so I did this like slide to answer null slide transition in 3D phone. I think that turned out really nice as well. You can also use the letters of the words for the lyrics of the song as part of your transitions too. This is my most recent edit. In here where it says "I'm on fire," I have 4 squares that zoom in on beat, IMON, and then immediately right after that there's 3D text with the word fire. Also in this edit of mine, I have the word "for," where the letter O rotates into picture. Not just transitions too, but a lot of times I like to use lyrics as backgrounds or just as extra details. Now I want to talk about something I actually just recently started doing, which has actually helped a lot, and that is looking for ideas on Pinterest from graphic design images. So yeah, don't just look at other people's edits for inspiration, but also look at like graphic design, software UI, or just other types of motion graphics. Yeah, basically what I did is I just looked up something like 3D abstract shape graphic design and then just saved images that I liked and felt like I could use or could be useful for making an edit. And then once you add some ideas to a Pinterest board, Pinterest will actually recommend more similar ideas to the ones that you saved. So then you can scroll through those to find even more ideas. So I think a pretty obvious example of using these images in my most recent edit is this transition right here with all the circles. I basically just remade this Pinterest image exactly and then made it into a transition, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think it looks really good. Also, sometimes what you have to do to be more creative is take a popular transition and just change the camera angle. Take this transition right here. I feel like this is pretty common in 3D edits to see the pictures rotating around like this on the y-axis. Well, you know, what if we switch it to rotating on the x-axis instead? It's the same idea, it's just from a slightly different perspective. Also, what if we, instead of having the camera on the outside of the pictures, have it on the inside, like this. Alright, and then obviously add effects to your edits. I actually made a video with a bunch of different effects that I like to use. So what I recommend doing is when you're making your transition edits, just try experimenting by adding different effects in different spots. Kind of helps you figure out what effects you like and that fit your editing style. Which actually, speaking of which, let's talk about finding your editing style, because I feel like this is definitely one of the biggest things that can help with making your edits more creative. Now I'm gonna be so honest, when I first started making transition edits, I was mainly just doing candy style remakes, and I never really thought at all that I would ever find my editing style, just because I liked so many different editing styles, which I actually would recommend trying to edit in different styles, because I feel like a lot of the times you can learn something from a different style that like you wouldn't normally do for your style that you can then incorporate into your style. For me, I think the main thing would be candy style overlays. I love candy style overlays, like those shape burst overlays. Also the circle wipes and the arrow wipes, those two. So basically I feel like my style is kind of like a mix of candy style and 3D style. Also maybe a little bit of glitch style too, because I really like using glitch effects as well. No, because I love how bright and colorful candy style edits are, but I also like the darker backgrounds and I guess like the more realistic lighting too that I see more in 3D edits. So I feel like my editing style is mainly 3D, but like very bright and colorful. And I also like using a lot of glow effects, especially deep glow. I guess that's kind of the thought process behind my editing style. Or what I would do too is whenever you're watching other people's edits and you see an edit you like, try to think to yourself, what is it that I especially like about this edit? And then when you're making your own edit, try not to directly copy, of course, unless you're remaking edit. You can try to do something inspired by what you saw. Also, it definitely takes time. I feel like the more you edit, the more you'll just naturally learn how to do more things that you can then incorporate into your edits. Remember when I said earlier too how I never thought I would find my own editing style? I also used to not be able to make original transition edits at all, really, because I just couldn't come up with enough transition ideas to make a whole edit. I think what I would definitely recommend doing if that's something you struggle with and you're wanting to make more original transition edits is by starting by making shorter, more simple transition edits. Even if it's just super basic transitions, you can still add different effects and backgrounds and overlays to make it into a more creative edit. Yeah, finding your editing style, it's not something that just happens overnight. It definitely takes time. It's a process. Yeah, as I mentioned, I've been editing for over 5 years on After Effects, and while I feel like my style is pretty developed, I'm still always learning and trying new things for my edits. So yeah, the more you edit, the more ideas you'll just sort of naturally collect, and it will feel a lot more comfortable to just experiment with different things. And not every edit you make has to be your best or most creative. Just keep trying new things and experimenting. Anyways, I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please leave a like and subscribe. And I'm curious to hear if there's anything else that you find helpful when coming up with ideas for your own edits. So feel free to leave a comment below. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.